Hey, welcome to Astro Babble. I'm Donna from Donna Astrology.
And I'm Lynda from Scallywag Astrology.
And today we are going to be talking about the full moon in Gemini. And
Okay.
while Lynda is getting that up, I will talk about the moon mansion, which is a really cool one. It's the seventh moon mansion. It's called the Forearm, and it is the flavor of Mercury and Mars because they both involve the stars of Castor and Pollux. This is has things to do with the keywords of this, and it is from the book by Christopher Warnock, The Moon Mansions. It has divine throne, cosmic axis pole, glorification, invocation, gain, success in business and trade, abundance and wealth, and safe in traveling, and that includes on the water.
Nice.
So this is a really good one for if you have travel plans. Well, and the moon mansions usually go for the full 2 weeks or the full fortnight. So,
Mhm. Nice.
and that's lunation to lunation. So all the way up until the new moon, we'll have this kind of influence to it.
And this full moon is in Gemini, so it's ruled by Mercury, which at this time will be stationing, which when a planet appears to change direction, we say it's stationing. It comes down, it gets slower and slower, or it appears to get slower and slower from our perspective on Earth. And it looks like it's coming to a standstill. And at this time of the full moon, Mercury is what we say is stationary. So very interesting. I wonder if a lot of these culminations, high points, or endings, which are topics associated with a full moon, have some sort of, I don't want to say stagnant energy, but kind of a stillness to them. Like, you're kind of going all the way up that hill and then you kind of stopped at the last, precipice. So it will be interesting to see how this plays out. We have Jupiter with the full moon, which means that it's also ruled by Mercury and it's retrograde. Got Venus and Pluto trine this full moon by sign. Neptune and Saturn squaring it by sign. Uranus is in inversion, which is good because it means it's kind of hidden from Uranus, which is sudden and shocking. Mars is also retrograde at this time, and it will be sextile this full moon. And I think that takes care of more or less all the planets. So that full moon, both the sun and the moon are going to move up and square Neptune, which is interesting as well because Neptune's foggy and cloudy and what am I not seeing sort of thing. Along with the ruler of this full moon being a stationary Mercury. Yeah, because that Mercury has just come out of its retrograde period, which is associated with snafus and mix-ups and miscommunications and delays sometimes. Yeah, it will be very interesting. So if things don't go exactly as planned, that's okay. Try to have a plan B. And, sometimes you just got to roll with it. I mean, it's not much more you can do.
It's nice that Mercury's going to be going in that forward position. It's not going to be going retrograde. It's
Mm.
stationing to move forward. So we're done with hopefully the snafus that have been happening these last few weeks.
Yeah, it will be interesting because not long before this full moon, we have retrograde Mercury opposing retrograde Jupiter. And then now that Mercury is going direct again, they're going to have another opposition, but this time Mercury will be direct. So that will be interesting. And we'll be discussing that when we get to that in the aspects a little bit later. We recommend that you listen or read your ascendant sign horoscope. And if you don't understand why, we've done a video all about that. We'll put a link to that in our description.
And so for the horoscopes, we'll go with if you are a Gemini rising, this is going to be happening in your first house. And the first house are the things that are coming to culmination around things that you have started planning maybe about 6 months ago that are coming to fruition. This is when we talk about the first house, we're talking about either something that you're doing just for yourself. So that could be a hairstyle or a wardrobe or things that you do for yourself. If you are wanting to, I don't know, start something, this would be it, but it's just for yourself. It's not like for a group or the one other. It's just it's the part of the horoscope that is just signifies the things that are changing about you if you are a Gemini rising.
And if you are a Taurus ascendant, this full moon is happening in your second house. The second house is the house of our private or personal income and finances and personal resources. So there may be some high point here. Maybe this is a bonus coming in through work for, your holiday bonus. Maybe this is some sort of gift or benefit. You do have Jupiter in the second house as well, which is nice. It is retrograde though, so maybe this is something that was owed to you. Maybe it's finally coming through at this time. And yeah, you've got Venus up in the 10th house of career and public reputation, so that's certainly nice. People are viewing you favorably. So yeah, just be aware that if you do get news that you are getting this summer money or this resource or there's some sort of income stream or something like that on the way, it may not be immediate. We do have that Mercury retrograde, well, not retrograde, stationing. So it's very still at the moment, and that's the planet that's ruling this full moon. So it may not be immediate, and that could be something as simple as a couple of days.
And if you are a Aries rising, this full moon will be happening in your third house. And the third house are things that have to do with either early education or short-term travel or your family as far as siblings or cousins. These are this will be happening around those subjects. So if you are starting a family reunion or plans for the holidays, even because this is going to include the holidays. So if you were planning on doing those things 6 months ago at the family reunion picnic that you're having over the summer, this would be the time where those things are coming to fruition.
And if you are a Pisces ascendant, this full moon is happening in your fourth house. The fourth house is the house of our parents. It is also our home and living situation and real estate matters. So it may have nothing to do with you. Maybe something going on with your parents. Maybe there's a high point, culmination or ending to do with them, or maybe it's something to do with a house or a living situation. Maybe somebody that's been in your household for a while is leaving. Maybe you've reached a settlement on, you've been looking for somewhere to live, whether that's renting or buying. Maybe this is the time when you finally get to move in or something similar to that. As I said, with Mercury stationing and ruling this full moon, things may seem to kind of come to a little bit of a standstill, but it won't be for long. It should move, but, just be aware it might not all be smooth sailing. It may be, just a kind of stillness there.
And if you are an Aquarius rising, this full moon will be happening in the fifth house. And the fifth house is the house of hobbies and the things that you do for fun or the things that you create. This could include your children, and as well as even a hobby like going to a sports event. I'm from Michigan, so Lions tickets might have come in. If you were planning on getting together to a game, this would be something that you might have gotten the tickets or thought about going 6 months ago, and this is now coming to fruition. This is going to be the things. This is a fun house, with and Jupiter and Mercury have mutual reception, and Jupiter's in that house. So this should have a very good benefit to you.
And if you're a Capricorn ascendant, this full moon is happening in your sixth house. The sixth house is the house of service to others. So this can include professions such as doctors, nurses, first responders. It is also employees. So if you have employees, or if you supervise people in your workplace, or it could even be people doing work for you around the house or around the workplace, tradespeople or contractors. It's a house of pets, and it is also the house of illness. So there might be a high point, culmination, or completion to some of these matters. It could be graduating from an academy or some university course or some short course, depending on what sort of training you might be doing. If you are in a job that requires, or not requires, but kind of serves the greater public, for some, you may have employees or people you supervise leaving. It could be a high point. It could be, for example, a pet, maybe, they get best in show, or they graduate from obedience school at this time. For some, maybe this could be the end of an illness. That would certainly be beneficial. With Mercury ruling this full moon and it being stationary, things may not be moving as quickly as you would like or assume that they will do so. So yeah, just be aware there may be a kind of a stillness or no movement when it comes to matters to do with culmination, endings, or high points.
And if you are a Sagittarius rising, the full moon will be happening in the seventh house. And the seventh house is the house of the one other. If you have a committed relationship, if somebody writes your name down to meet with you at a certain time, or you have a committed relationship where you show up for the one other person, this is that type of relationship. It's just the one-on-one relationship. So things that you might have talked about or started working on together, this will be coming to fruition in this time frame. This will be the things that are coming to fruition around the themes of the one-on-one relationships that you have.
And if you're a Scorpio ascendant, this full moon is happening in your eighth house. The eighth house is the house of shared finances and resources. It's also other people's money. This could be to do with inheritances or loans, debts, taxation matters, superannuation, insurance matters, financial agreements, venture capital. So there may be a high point, culmination, or ending to do with one of these matters, particularly with Mercury stationing, because Mercury is ruling this full moon, and Mercury being in your second house of your personal finances. You may think, oh, okay, it's all been approved, it's done, bang, it should be in my account, within a couple of hours. It might not be the case. Just be aware there may be a kind of a stillness or a little bit of a standstill before things start moving forward again.
If you are a Libra rising, the full moon will be happening in the ninth house. And the ninth house is about foreign travel. And I see that, it is Jupiter and Mercury both have that mutual reception going on. So this might be a good time to travel. So that would be one of those themes that are going on with you. This also has to do with philosophy, the occult subjects, astrology as well, higher education, or foreigners. This is the house where things will be coming to fruition or culmination around those themes.
And if you're a Virgo ascendant, this full moon is happening in your 10th house. The 10th house is the house of career and public reputation. So this could be something to do with work. There could be a high point. Maybe you get some sort of reward or recognition at this time. Maybe your boss is getting some reward or recognition, or maybe they're leaving, because this is also the house of authority figures such as bosses. Or it could be something to do with your private life, not necessarily associated with a career or occupation. It's just something in the it's public arena, because it is 10th house and it's a very visible house, but public reputation. So maybe you're being honored or rewarded in some way. There may have been some delay with this. We've got Jupiter, which brings good things, but it's retrograde. And the ruler of this full moon is Mercury, which is stationing. So it's very still at the moment, or it appears to be very still at the moment from our perspective. So there may be some sort of delay, maybe not a huge one, probably not a huge one, but there's a kind of a stillness before things go fully ahead. So if you kind of feeling like you're, got a full head of steam and you're charging up wherever, and then it comes to a standstill, don't panic. It's probably just very temporary.
And if you are a Leo rising, this full moon will be happening in the 11th house. And the 11th house is all about your hopes and dreams and your wishes. And it is also has to do with the people that you hang around with, your associates, your friends. This is one of those other nice houses, and so things will be coming to fruition. Whatever you were planning on doing, if you were planning on starting a group together to, I don't know, study frogs or whatever. This is those that where that type of thing will be coming to fruition or culmination.
And if you're a Cancer ascendant, this full moon is happening in your 12th house. 12th house is the house of our undoing. So this can include things like addictions, self-defeating habits, escapism. It's also places of confinement like hospitals or prisons. It is places of retreat, such as monasteries or spiritual retreats. It's places of exile. So this could be something like you've gone away to study something, or you are just locking yourself away to work on something behind the scenes, because it's also hidden and secret matters. So there may be a high point culmination or ending to these matters. Maybe you have been working behind the scenes and this is a time when you're wrapping things up. Maybe it's completed at this time. With Mercury stationing with this one, and Mercury being the ruler of this full moon, maybe there will be a need to kind of go back and re-edit something, or maybe there may be some sort of delay or a stillness. And the reason I say stillness is because the planet appears to be still at this time. It doesn't appear to be moving. So it should only be temporary. But for some it may be, being released from prison or a hospital, or maybe you're finishing up a spiritual retreat, or as I said, maybe you've been working on something behind the scenes, and this is a time where you're wrapping things up and completing that.
And the stone that I have, and I can see the precipice of finishing those other blogs, but I will hopefully do those by Christmas. I think that's my new target date. But for this today, I have a stone called Ruby and Zoisite. Zoisite. Sorry. And it's a green and like a pinkish purple stone. Here is a really good one. I think this is so pretty. And I do use this I use it in jewelry a lot. This has an orthorhombic crystal system. It belongs with or it resonates with the fourth and the seventh chakra. It is got it's good for jewelry because it's got a Mohs hardness of like 6 to 7. So that's what makes it nice. I have a couple of, oh, that's the wrong one.
No.
There's that. And you can see that this got like a reddish and pink spots in it, and that's where the ruby is. And that's real ruby. This grows together. It is good for The heart, it is good for if you are run down. It brings that support to getting some vitality with your body and your mind together. It's also good for communication and uh, let's see, grounding. And this is Ruby in Zoisite. Zoisite.
And you'll be writing an article about that?
I will be writing an article about it. It's a great stone. I've been using it for quite a number of years, and it's one of my go-to stones. I have it in many different forms. I use it on probably almost a good portion of the layouts, maybe about 40%, 30 to 40%.
Mm-hmm.
So a good portion. I always have it close at hand. And it's great, and it's like I said, it's a pretty stone. So, you have that green and like pinkish to it. So
Mm-hmm.
it's very attractive and sharp looking. I mean, it does definitely has a statement to it. That's why well, it's a really good stone. It kind of melds that communication, grounding, um, type of energy.
No. Well, let's have a look at the aspects coming up.
Not a lot of them this fortnight.
No, not at all.
So the first one, we've been waiting for it for the last couple of weeks when Mercury will station direct. And when it goes retrograde, it kind of is readdressing things and things that you have to go back over and stuff that you have to redo. This is when it goes direct, you can pretty much have I'm not going to guarantee it, but you would have more of a streamline to get to that, the counter if you were in a I- I'm I'm kind of paralleling it to a line in a at an airport where you if in a Mercury retrograde you might like have to get out because you dropped something and everything rolled away and you had to get out of line or step out of line for whatever reason. But this is more of a streamline. This is you're going to get in line, you're going to be able to go right through and everything should be working a little bit more as it should when Mercury goes direct.
Yeah. We are still in the shadow period. We're going to be in the shadow period up until the 2nd of January, I believe. That's US time. For those who have planets, natal planets between 6 and I think it's 22 of the mutable signs. So that's Sagittarius, Gemini, Pisces, and Virgo. You may find that you kind of dealing with some issues up until the 2nd of January. Sometimes you can sail through a Mercury retrograde period and you think, oh, I'm safe. And then it gets you in the last bit of the shadow period. We've done a video all about the shadow period too, and I'll put a link to that in the description. But yes, for a lot of people, it should be, things starting to move ahead in that. So that's good.
And the next aspect is going to happen the following day. No, not the following day. This is on the 18th. Um, this is going to be when the sun will square Neptune. And when the sun squares Neptune, you're going to have a little bit of loss of vitality. Watch out for mistruths. I'm not going to tell you that somebody's going to out and out lie to you, but that is also the case. That's a possibility. But this is where you're going to have that resistance, and it's more of a challenging aspect because it is a square. It's one of those harder aspects to go through, but I would not be counting on that everything is clear.
As Donna said, you can have that loss of vitality. I think it's also quite easy to lie to yourself or deceive yourself at this time as well. Yeah, it could be good for creativity, or for doing something altruistic, or, doing something for others rather than yourself, for being selfless, taking action on behalf of others, perhaps, or for the betterment of something or someone. But yeah, very easy to deceive yourself or perhaps be deceived. With Neptune, it's just very blurry, very foggy.
And this next aspect is going to be on the following day, this December 19th. And that will be when Venus will trine retrograde Jupiter. Usually, I say this is the best aspects. However, with Jupiter still in retrograde, it might not work out as nice as it could, but it will still be very, 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 very beneficial. This might be something where you're re-going over something that will end up being a positive event in your life.
That would be nice. Yep, we got the two benefics here, Venus in Aquarius and Jupiter in Gemini, which unfortunately it's in detriment. It's not working at full speed in this sign. And as Donna said, it's retrograde. So, it should be good for social occasions, getting together, which is nice coming up to the holidays. Yeah, just nice. That Jupiter being retrograde and in detriment does kind of dim it a little bit, I think, potentially, but it should be fine.
And the next aspect will happen December 21st. That's a Saturday. And when the sun will enter Capricorn, this is, as I say, anytime a planet moves into a new sign, this is a good day to journal. The sun I don't really consider a planet, but it is a good day to journal because it's gonna offer new kind of energy. So that's why I would say journal. Happy birthday, Capricorns. This is going to be, we're diving into our longest day of the year up on the northern hemisphere, the shortest day of the year for the southern hemisphere. So this is definitely a day that is.
No, I think it's the other way around. It's our longest day, it's your shortest day.
Oh yeah, okay. It's our longest night. Yeah. That's how we look at it in Michigan. Yeah, you're right.
Oh, okay.
It's our longest day in the southern hemisphere, shortest day in the upper peninsula or the northern hemisphere. Yeah, so this is astrologically an important day when this is it's a cardinal sign, so it's ushering in a new season.
Mm. As dark as it's going to get, like you said, your longest night up there. From this time forward, it's going to start getting a little bit lighter every day up until we get to the ingress of the sun into Aries, and that's when the light will start. There will be more light than dark. So, and wherever the sun is, shines a light on that area of your chart. It's going to be there for a month. So wherever Capricorn is in your natal chart, you can expect to be thinking and communicating and dealing more with the people and topics associated with that natal house.
And the next aspect we're going to talk about is going to happen December 24th. That's Christmas Eve here well, it's everywhere in the world. It'll be Christmas Eve everywhere. But this will happen on Tuesday. It's a retrograde Jupiter will square Saturn. And this is one of those more difficult aspects to go through. It's a square, and those are always more challenging. This is going to give you the desire to move forward, but something's going to hold you back. So not everything is going to go smoothly. I would suspect with this. Expect to be able to hopefully get a grasp of what you need to cut out of your life. This is hopefully not people, hopefully maybe extra toys that are sitting around that need to go. But yeah, with Christmas Eve, this is a good time. Actually, you should be doing this earlier than this, but you might find that you're in a situation where you're going, and then you just like hit a wall and you have to stop. So this might be that type of energy where everything seems to be going well, and then you have to either cut something out or you get stopped because you don't have batteries for everything that you might. I'm thinking about Christmas morning, and that you get so excited about doing something, you unwrap everything, and then you're like, it needs batteries, and we don't have like a 9 volt. So that would be the type of thing of the energy that you might run into. So if you're listening to this, you'll be more ready for those Christmas activities that you everybody engages in.
Yeah. And again, this is going to affect, I would imagine, the people with mutable signs around about 14 degrees. So 14 degrees of Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, and Sagittarius, give or take a couple of degrees either side for those signs. I mean, Jupiter wants to expand. It is in detriment. So it's kind of having to toe the line to Mercury sort of thing, because Mercury's the ruler and Mercury's all about attention to detail and drilling down into the details. And Saturn is all about details too. So, and this Jupiter's retrograde. I feel a bit sorry for this poor little put upon Jupiter. Interesting that Mercury is coming up to oppose Jupiter, and it's going to square Saturn. So that's interesting. Makes me wonder if this is going to have a lot to do with communications and maybe finances to a certain extent, because Mercury can rule that sort of thing. Communications, transportation. Yeah, Saturn has the upper hand here. It is in earlier zodiacal order, so it does get to dominate Jupiter here, and it's not retrograde. So Jupiter's not super strong here, but it is what it is. As I said, Jupiter wants to expand. Saturn really wants to contain, and yeah, it will be interesting. Maybe something's going to have to give. That Mercury in Sagittarius will be interesting to see how it can patch things up and try and get these two to work well together, perhaps. So Mercury does have mutual reception with Jupiter, and Saturn is in a sign of Jupiter, so it will be interesting. And as Donna said, 24th of December in the Northern Hemisphere or the US, and that possibly early hours of Christmas morning for those of us a little bit further ahead with time zones. So yes, it'll be interesting.
And Mercury's there to help. So Mercury still is giving that mutual reception. It is still the hosting Jupiter, and Mercury is now running forward. So we don't at least have that to deal with. So the next aspect will be Mercury, as you were alluding to earlier, is Mercury will oppose retrograde Jupiter. And, it still has that mutual reception. Jupiter's still in retrograde, but Mercury is the host of that Jupiter and is trying to help it as much as it can. And I think it'll do a nice job with that. Mercury doesn't have an agenda where it's not feeling, too bad. So it should be able to help with and this type of thing is with this kind of aspect, Mercury and Jupiter to get together. You're looking at, this would be a good time for planning. This is you don't want to overlook the details. That is something that can still happen with Jupiter in its fall. So that is one of those things that you want to watch out for. But this is a good day for planning and even speaking to someone else. Getting that your point across might be a good day to do that.
Yeah, it will be interesting. Around about the 4th of December, we will have had retrograde Mercury oppose retrograde Jupiter. And here they are. Now that Mercury is going direct, Mercury is coming back to oppose that retrograde Jupiter again. So maybe could be events to do with what happened around about the time when they opposed each other. back in early December. Maybe there's a tidying up, or, there may be some sort of callback to that time period or what happened at that time. Jupiter receives Mercury because Mercury is in Jupiter's sign. So, yeah, they're a mutual reception. They're in each other's signs. So they're inclined to try and help each other, maybe try and sort things out. Um, it could be very easy to get the wrong end of the stick, or, tall tales, or, you know, some miscommunications here, particularly since Mercury, even though it is direct, it's still in its retrograde shadow period.
And the next aspect will be Mercury will square Saturn. And this is as I've always been saying, all for there's a lot of squares. And those are always challenging. And this is another one of those. It's going to happen December 27th on Friday. And this will be Mercury will square Saturn. And this is a time where you're going to be re-going over things. It's good for hard work. It's if you have thing to do. This might be a good time to start your taxes. It's after Christmas, at least. This is um this is a good time to use that hard mental output that you have to like really concentrate on. But you might, because it's a square, you might end up going over that, especially with Mercury is still in retrograde shadow period. It's not in retrograde anymore, but it's still in that shadow period Lynda had said earlier. So you might be re-going over some things that you had, but this is really good for those hard mental tasks that you have to do.
Mm. We had the retrograde Jupiter square to Saturn, and then the Mercury opposing retrograde Jupiter. So this may be kind of not the fallout, but this may be the tidying up and taking care of the details, and what needs to be done, that from whatever was decided from those previous aspects. Donna was referencing cutting things out, perhaps, or, because Jupiter is so big, it wants to expand, and Saturn, wants to contain. And yeah, that Mercury is kind of cleanup crew I'm kind of thinking of, even though it's still limping along. What is it? Oh, it's not too bad. It's moving at 114% of its usual speed now. And it is visible because it's not too close to the sun, but it's in the sign of its detriment. But yeah, you've got to work with what you've got to work with. Yeah, good for clean up, tidy up, whatever decisions were made the previous week, I imagine. And, you're coming up to the end of the year. A lot of people get ideas about New Year's resolutions and that. And, maybe this has something to do with that. Maybe New Year's resolutions, or just resolutions in general. I need to do this, or I should do that. And yeah, it's a good time to put Mercury to work. He may need to supervise him closely though, because he's in Sag. So
The storytelling will be free flowing. And the next the next aspect will be Venus will square retrograde Uranus. So Uranus is going backwards. It does a good portion of the year, like 6 months or so, maybe 4 or 5. But what I'm trying to say is this is asking you to look at things, beauty, love, and relationships in a new way. So, or looking at things in a different way. Or just mixing it up totally. This is it is kind of a challenge. It is a square, so this is not going to be exactly, you know, it's not going to be the carriage and the roses and everything running out smoothly. This is might be a walk through leaves and stuff. I don't know. This is it's just looking at your love relationships and having some flexibility in what you find that is beautiful, what you find loving, what you find in your relationships might be a little a little bit more flexible.
Yeah, I think this could be quite shocking, having to make adjustments. Maybe you're not comfortable with that. I imagine that this is going to affect the fixed signs more than most. So that's Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, and Aquarius. If you have planets around about 23 degrees of those signs, maybe you're going to feel this more than most. But yeah, there may be adjustments needed. Or, you may find yourself suddenly attracted to new activities, new types of art, new types of people, and it may be quite a shock to the system. Maybe you've always, how does that song go? I want a man in finance and all that sort of thing. And you're suddenly attracted to the guitarist from some, grunge band or something. So it may come as like a bolt out of the blue. But, it's going to move quickly. Venus is moving 110% of her usual speed. And I suspect it's going to be more impactful for people who've got planets around about 23 degrees of the fixed signs.
And there it is. It's before the new year, so we're going to end up with a new moon right before New Year's. Is that in the United States? Is that early enough for you guys to catch it on the 30th? Or it might happen on New Year's Day for you,
I think it
because
will
you're
be.
like 14 hours ahead of us.
Let me double check.
So
Will be early on New Year's Eve, like.
on New Year's, yeah.
Mm,
So in North America, or are we the other side? I don't know where we are is considered. Where are we? Are we the other side of the lake from you guys? I mean, it's Australia. So anyway, we're on a different continent. But on this side of the world, it's
You're
going to happen on
in the upper
December 30th.
hemisphere.
And I don't know how else to put that. Uh, and this is a new moon. It's going to be things that you're going to want to start. So, everybody goes for those, when the new year happens, you have these resolutions that you're going to change. This might be a good time to start it. This is going to be happening in Capricorn. So those people might have some new seeds to sow. You've
Yeah,
got that vitality. You've got that new strength with that. And it's not really, I call it new strength because it's budding strength. It's not totally grown yet. So this would be, if you're a Capricorn, this is a time where you're going to start something
yeah, yeah.
for sure. It'll happen for everybody, but for Capricorns particularly.
Mm. Well, I'm a Capricorn ascendant, and it's usually about this time of year that me and a good friend who's a Capricorn sun suddenly become obsessed with clothing and all that sort of stuff. We need a new wardrobe, and how should I do my hair,
Mhm.
and blah blah blah. Yeah. Um.
And that
So
would be why.
yes, indeed. So Saturn is the ruler of this new moon, and it is in Pisces. So it is sextile this new moon, which is good. It can help it. Venus, unfortunately, cannot see this new moon, which it would have been very helpful for Capricorn ascendants who want to change their wardrobe. She's not going to be about, so that's a shame. Uranus is sextiling this new moon by sign. Jupiter, the other benefic, is in aversion, but so is Mars. So
Trine.
no,
Well, did you say Uranus or Neptune?
no, I said Jupiter.
Forget it. I'm sorry. I was
Yeah,
looking someplace else.
yeah, no, Jupiter and Mars.
Hmm.
Jupiter in Gemini and Mars in Leo cannot see it, which is
Gotcha.
probably just as well, because they're both retrograde. And and Mercury cannot see it either. There's a lot of planets in aversion to this new moon. You've got Mercury, Venus, Pluto, Jupiter, and Mars. are all in inversion, which is like being in the blind spot. It's like this new moon's happening and they're not aware of it. So yeah,
Mm.
that will be interesting.
So I'll have to rely on the Saturn, Neptune, and Uranus.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Yeah. Well, at least you can see its ruler, so that's helpful.
Looks
And
fun. Looks
mm,
interesting for sure.
and Donna, where can people find you and what services are you offering?
You can find me at donnabastrology.com, and that's my website. And you can email me at donnabarconsulting@gmail.com. And I am open for natal readings, electional, as well as horary and medical insight for that. And I also do energy work. So if you are feeling a little out of balance or out of whack, a little off, this is a good thing to do for yourself if you are looking for an alternative way to support your health. And Lynda, what are you doing and where can people get a hold of you?
I'm offering natal readings, relationship readings, and year ahead readings. So I'm at Scullywag Astrology. That's astrology.scullywag.com. And yeah, so we hope this full moon's a very good one for you. And thank you for listening and liking and sharing and commenting. And yeah,
Happy holidays.
happy holidays.